Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy guns never fail. What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum. Welcome to Week 5 Start 'em and Sit 'em show for fantasy football fiends. Unfortunately, Siggy is not with me today, so I'm doing this solo, and we're going to get right into it. Let's talk about the injuries this week. I'm not too sure about too many injuries. Usually, Siggy helps me out with this, but I tried to look up the most I could. But for now, Andrew Luck obviously still nursing that shoulder. Not sure if he's going to play. He's listed as day-to-day. He practiced, but it's limited. Matt Hasselbeck was sick, so he was out of practice this week for far as what I know. I'm doing this on a Tuesday, so you can figure it out. It's hard to, figure out if he's going to play or not, but I would monitor Andrew Luck. And right now, Andrew Luck is one of the worst fantasy football quarterbacks out there. Anyways, but Carlos Williams as well from the Bills. I'm not sure about LaShawn McCoy still. He's probably not going to play. And Carlos Williams had a concussion, is going through concussion protocol. He might pass that and might be able to play. I would monitor that situation as well. Tevin Coleman is questionable now. Not sure if he's going to play, and I'm not sure if they want to play him at this point with the way Devontae Freeman is playing for Atlanta. Might want to rest Tevin Coleman another week or two to get him ready get him ready to go, especially when Devontae Freeman's doing so well. You don't really need to use Tevin Coleman at this point. Lance Dunbar is out for the season, torn ACL for the Cowboys. That leaves Randall and McFadden and Christine Michael now as the running backs. Marshawn Lynch was out this past week. Not sure if he's going to play this week as well, but we'll see. Monitor that situation. Sammy Watkins was out this week as well for the Bills. Monitor his situation. Not sure if he's coming back as well either. Alshon Jeffrey, another one, out again. So monitor his situation as he could possibly play this week. Let's get into Rewind now, and I'll talk to you about how we did last week. For the starts, my best start of the week was Tyrod Taylor, believe it or not, with 14.46 points. That's pretty much horrible. I mean, we don't talk about the big names here, so it's kind of hard to get those, small ones, out there. But Tyrod Taylor didn't play a great game. Had a couple touchdowns called back pretty much for the Bills, and that kind of sucked. But my bad start of the week was Marvin Jones with only a point for the Bengals. And honorable mention, I did say start the Packers defense against the Niners. They scored 15 points, so that's an honorable mention for you. I don't usually mention defenses when I do this, so I usually talk about the players. So that was actually my highest point total of the week, was to start the Packers, so that's not bad for me. Siggy's good one was Andy Dalton at 18.44 points. Andy Dalton having a great year so far fantasy-wise. His bad start was Jordan Reed with 1.70 points. And for honorable mention for Siggy as well, he had the Panthers starting, and they got 18 points. Now for the sits last week, my best sit of the week was Ryan Matthews, 0 points. So you can't get any better than that usually unless it's negative, but Ryan Matthews was 0 points. The bad start of the bad sit of the week for me was Rashad Jennings, who scored 15.20 points, especially on that long catch for a touchdown that he had against the Bills. Honorable mention, the Chiefs. I said to sit them, -4 points for the Chiefs, so not bad there. Good sit for Siggy was Jordan Cameron. He scored 1.90 points, so not bad for Siggy last week for that. And his bad sit of the week was Vincent Jackson, who scored 20.70 points. And honorable mention for Siggy, the Texans, -2 points. He said to sit them, and Atlanta Falcons just blew them out. Now let's get into the Adam and Bagum portion of the show. The first guy I'm going to talk about is Duke Johnson. Finally had a nice catch and run for a touchdown last week. He got out the gates a little bit. It still is pretty much behind Isaiah Correll in the depth chart. It just doesn't seem like Cleveland's comfortable enough yet to put Duke Johnson in for the majority of the carries, and he's not starting yet. So at this point, I'm going to have to tell you to bag him. He's just not worth it right now to pick up. I mean, not off a one-game thing where he caught a ball and got a touchdown. It's not worth trying to pick him up and trying to start him or hold on to him yet, because he's not even near potential of starting yet, it seems like, for Cleveland. And the other guy is Willie Snead. And this guy is playing actually well for New Orleans, came out of nowhere, and no one even thought he would make the team. And here he is catching balls from Drew Brees like crazy. Nice big target for Drew Brees, and Drew Brees seems to be comfortable throwing to him, especially more than Brandon Cooks at this point. So I'm going to have to say Adam. He's just a guy that when Drew Brees gets comfortable with you and finds a target that he likes, you got to add that guy because chances are he's going to get a lot more chances and a lot more targets, and the coaches seem to like this kid. So definitely add him. Now let's get into the waiver wire portion of the show. My 3 waiver wire guys are Leonard Hankerson, Ronnie Hillman, and Ted Ginn Jr., and I'll talk about Ronnie Hillman. Ronnie Hillman seems to be closer and closer to taking C.J. Anderson's job. C.J. Anderson is just having a horrible season and fantasy season nonetheless. And Ronnie Hillman broke a nice 72-yard run. Didn't get much after that 72-yard run, but it's still got to show the coach or something that at least he has the potential to have some big plays. He has potential to be able to catch the ball in the backfield a lot more than C.J. Anderson. So I like Hillman moving forward. So if you have a chance to pick him up, because for some reason he's still available in a lot of leagues this year. So if you have a chance to pick him up, try to scoop him up, definitely, because he's definitely a must pick up, because I think he's going to eventually take over that starting role for C.J. Anderson, because C.J. Anderson just seems to be playing himself right out of it right now. So let's get into the stardom portion of the show, and my 3 starts for quarterback of the week are Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and now, first of all, Peyton Manning usually is a must start for everyone, but right now, he is actually below Colin Kaepernick in fantasy points. That's how bad Peyton Manning's doing this year after 4 weeks of the season. So he has earned the right to now be labeled either a bust, not pretty much bust, but he's earned the right to now be on the stardom sit-em show, because usually you always start Peyton Manning, but now on this occasion, you don't know whether you're going to start him or not. So I'm going to say start him this week, and Marcus Mariota versus the Bills. And we're going to talk about Marcus Mariota because we haven't really talked about him much, and we haven't really talked about this Bills defense that much, but the Bills defense is surrendering a lot of yards passing. The reason being there's a lot of guys injured on that secondary, and a lot of guys went down last week as well. They just seem to have a guy a week or 2 guys a week go down with either concussions or leg injuries or just some kind of injury in the secondary, and they're just getting beat up back there. So, and then not only that, they're one of the most penalized teams in the NFL at this point. They're getting a lot of illegal contacts. They're getting a lot of pass interferences. They're getting just meltdown kind of things. And Marcus Mariota being at home is going to have, I think, being with the Bills defense is so good against the run, Marcus Mariota is going to throw a lot, and I have a feeling it's going to be just a really good day for Marcus Mariota against that Bills defense. Now for my running back starts of the week, I have Justin Forsett, TJ Yeldon, and DeMarco Murray, who's another guy who's earned the right to be on this. Usually last year you would always say start DeMarco Murray, but this year he sucks so bad in fantasy football, he's earned the right to now be on this. But once again, I will tell you this. I'm going to talk about Justin Forsett. Why am I going to talk about Justin Forsett? He's playing the Cleveland Browns. Last week I said Melvin Gordon would have a good game. Turns out Danny Woodhead was the person who had the good game. But still, anybody that's playing the Cleveland Browns when you're a running back seems to score high points in fantasy football. So Justin Forsett this week, they like to run in Baltimore. I see Justin Forsett having a big game against the Cleveland Browns this week. Now let's talk about the wide receiver starts of the week. I have Ruben Randall, Jordan Matthews, and Andre Johnson. And we're going to talk about Andre Johnson. He has been a fantasy bust this year. Just horrible. I don't even think he's in the top 100 right now in fantasy football stats. And basically getting no targets, but he's playing his former team. Regardless of the fact if Hasselbeck's playing or Luck's playing, he's playing his former team. I'm pretty sure they're game planning to help him out, get him some catches, and get him going against his former team. We've seen it in the past where former players like to go off against their former teams. Unfortunately, DeMarco Murray didn't do well this year doing it, and there's a few other players that didn't do as well against their former teams. But I see Andre Johnson having a big game against the Houston Texans, especially with their secondary being as bad as they are. So let's talk about the tight end starts of the week. I have Travis Kelce going against the Bears, Gary Barnidge going against the the Ravens, and Jason Witten going against New England. And right now I'm going to talk about Witten. Witten has been the go-to guy since everybody and their mother has gotten hurt on the Cowboys offense. He's the mainstay, the old reliable. He knows how to find a way to get open. Whedon's very comfortable throwing to him, and Jason Witten's the guy right now against a secondary that isn't that great in New England right now at this point. And, they're still finding their way on defense, and the Cowboys can and have had success against them in the past. So I like the way the Cowboys are running their offense, through the run. They're running a lot through the three-headed monster of their guys, and they're still sticking to their game plan and the way they go and the way they do it. So I really like what the Cowboys are doing. So I like Jason Witten this week against the Patriots. Now, for defenses starts of the week, the Giants against the 49ers, the Packers against the Rams, and the Eagles versus New Orleans. And I'll talk about the Giants. The Giants actually have been playing very, very, very good defense, especially against the run. And their secondary is not as bad as it seems. But they have been very good against the run, which is leaving teams to only pass against them. That's why their secondary probably looks as bad as it is, but it's actually not that bad if you look at it. But the 49ers right now are inept on offense. Colin Kaepernick is struggling. He's lost a lot of confidence. I know it's my team, but the Niners haven't been able to run and pass. The Niners haven't been able to do much on offense whatsoever. They're giving up a lot of sacks. This is a ripe game for the Giants being at home to be able to get after Kaepernick, get some more sacks, get some turnovers, and do their thing right now on defense. So definitely right now, with the 49ers being so bad on offense, it's good to start any defense right now against them until they figure it out. And right now they have not figured it out. So start the Giants. Now let's get into the sit-em portion of the show. And my three quarterback sits of the week are Derek Carr, Andy Dalton, and Tyrod Taylor. Those are two big names right now. Well, not big names. Tyrod Taylor's not a big name, but he's been doing great in fantasy football. But I'll talk about Andy Dalton. They're playing the Legion of Boom. Seattle's back. Cam Chancellor's back. It's hard to pass on that team. I don't care if you're on the road or at home. It's just really difficult to pass right now against that team. They're clicking on all cylinders on defense right now, and they're shutting people down. And Andy Dalton, whether or not he has all the weapons he has, it's still going to be very difficult to go against that pass rush and that defense. So I don't like Andy Dalton this week to score a lot of points like he's been doing the last few weeks. And let's talk about the running backs now. My running back sits of the week are Carlos Hyde versus the Giants. Devontae Freeman, who's been having crazy 2 weeks, but 6 touchdowns in the last two games. And Marshawn Lynch at Cincinnati, who's been shutting down the run. And I'll talk about Devontae Freeman. He has been a maniac. 6 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's been just on fire for the Atlanta Falcons. It's hard to stop him, whether it be the passing game or the running game. He's just getting all kinds of touches. But right now, against the Redskins have one of the NFL's best run defenses right now. Teams are going to have to only pass on them. And I don't see the Falcons having success running the ball with Freeman, but I see them having a lot of success passing the ball, especially to Julio Jones and those receivers and Leonard Hankerson and maybe Roddy White, considering he hasn't been targeted as much as Hankerson and Julio Jones this year. So I don't like Freeman this week. I don't like his chances of getting like that 3-touchdown game again this week. Wide receiver sits of the week: Amari Cooper, Calvin Johnson, and Marcus Wilson at Kansas City. And I'm going to talk about Calvin Johnson. He was shut down again from Seattle, and he's having just a rough year so far fantasy-wise, and it's not going to get any better facing the Cardinals and Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu back there. They have a hard. They don't give up a lot of yards passing, and it's just a really tough defense, especially when they get to blitzing. And right now Detroit is struggling as well in their passing game with Matthew Stafford. So I don't like Calvin Johnson. They're taking shots with him, but they're just not getting the ball to him. So I don't like Calvin Johnson against the Arizona Cardinals this week. Tight end sits: Tyler Eifert versus Seattle, Jimmy Graham at Cincinnati, and Charles Clay at Tennessee. And I'll talk about Jimmy Graham, another tight end who's a big name that was doing well. Obviously, he does well in New Orleans, but this is in New Orleans. They don't use him like that in Seattle. He's just not used very great. And against Cincinnati, they have a really good defense there, and they're going to be keen on him especially. I don't like Jimmy Graham, especially at Cincinnati, and with that offensive line play the way it is. Russell Wilson doesn't even have time to get the ball to Jimmy Graham at this point. All right, let's get into the sit-em defenses. My 3 defensive sits of the week are the Cowboys versus the Patriots, the Lions versus the Cardinals, and the Redskins at the Falcons. And we'll talk about the Redskins. They've actually been playing pretty good defense despite their record. They've been playing pretty solid against the run. I believe they're number 1 or number 2 against the run, one of the two. And but they're playing the Falcons, and the Falcons right now are just unstoppable. That they pass so well with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan and Leonard Hankerson, and Roddy White's not been in the mix that much, but they pass so well, it sets up the run. And they've been able to pretty much, get Devonta Freeman going against the run. But I don't think they're going to be able to get the run going, but they're going to have that passing game going. And just the Redskins, they're not able to really stop the pass too much. You saw Chris Culliver get beat a lot last week. They're missing D'Angelo Hall, and I just don't see the Redskins able to stop that passing game of the Falcons, especially with Julio Jones and Hankerson, and the way that the Falcons are rolling right now with Matt Ryan. So, especially at home. Atlanta's really hard to beat at home. So, don't start the Redskins this week. They're not a really good play this week, all right? Now let's get into the sleeper portion of the show. And my 3 sleepers of the week are Martavis Bryant, who's back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joseph Randle versus the Patriots, and Kirk Cousins versus the Falcons. And I'll talk about Kirk Cousins. Now, most people won't think to put Kirk Cousins in, but you got to think right now, the Atlanta Falcons are doing well against the run, and they've been up huge in games, and I expect it to be no different in this one, where they might be up big against the Redskins, and that leaves Kirk Cousins to be able just to throw the ball. And when you're throwing the ball, whether you're playing against, at the end when you're getting blown out, you saw it last week where the Houston Texans started coming back in that game against the Falcons. They were down so big they just let them score points basically, and you get all those garbage points. So look for Kirk Cousins this week to get a lot of those garbage points being down big to the Falcons. So I definitely love him this week going against the Falcons defense. That's why the Falcons defense have been giving up so many points, and not points, but so many yards passing, because they're up big in so many games that teams are forced to pass. So definitely Kirk Cousins this week for a sleeper. All right, that does it for the Fantasy Football Week 5 Stardom Sit 'em Show. Leave your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to ask questions. Don't forget to follow me at JT_Magnum816 on Twitter, and at Siggy V for Siggy if you want to ask him questions. Also, go to the website, MagnumSportsNetwork.com, where I will have the starts and sits up this week along with the rankings. Sorry I didn't do it last week. I had a death in the family. Actually, I had 2 deaths in the family, and it's been a kind of a rough week for me in that sense, and I've been a little busy with that. So, starts and sits, rankings should be up by tomorrow, if not Thursday. On Saturday, the live show, 7 p.m. every Saturday. I try to do it every Saturday. You can join me live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ask me any questions you want fantasy-wise. Tweet it out to your friends. Don't forget to, share it anywhere you want. It'll be up on YouTube early, so that way you can see when it is, and, you can pretty much bookmark it or whatever you want to do. All right? So take care, guys. Thanks for watching, and best of luck in your Week 5 fantasy football weeks, and score a lot of points. All right? All right. Peace, guys.